Before I begin, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. And remember, respect is earned, not inherited. My name is Arthur Bennett. I am 74 years old. To my neighbors, I am the quiet widower in apartment 14B who feeds the pigeons every morning and reads financial newspapers like they still matter. To my son Daniel and his wife Lila, I am something else. An inconvenience. A delay. An aging vault that hasn't opened yet. They see slow steps and thinning hair. They see a man who sometimes pauses before answering. They assume time has dulled me. They mistake silence for weakness. That was their first mistake. I noticed the pattern in November. The first time it was small. A painting in my hallway was slightly crooked. I never leave it crooked. I adjust it every Sunday. The second time, a drawer in my desk was not fully closed. The third time, a silver cufflink, my late wife Eleanor's favorite, had been moved from left to right in its velvet box. People think old men are forgetful. They underestimate men who spent 38 years auditing billion-dollar corporations. Details are not small things to me. They are fingerprints. So I began documenting. November 3rd, 2:15 p.m., desk disturbed. November 8th, 11:40 a.m., bedroom closet opened. November 15th, jewelry box shifted. By December, I had 13 entries. By January, 28. By mid-March, the number was 34. 34 times my apartment had been entered when I was not home. No forced entry. No broken locks. That meant only one thing. A key. Daniel had insisted 2 years ago that he and Lila keep a spare for emergencies. "You live alone, Dad," he had said gently. "What if something happens?" I had agreed, because fathers still want to believe their sons mean well. The 35th time, I came home early from the pharmacy. The building lobby smelled of lemon polish. The doorman nodded as usual, but when I stepped off the elevator, something felt wrong. My door was fully closed, but the brass deadbolt was vertical. I always leave it horizontal. Always. I didn't panic. I listened. Silence. I unlocked the door quietly. The air inside carried a scent that did not belong there. Vanilla perfume. Overly sweet. Aggressive. Lila. I walked down the hallway toward the master bedroom. The closet door was open, and there she stood, wearing Eleanor's sapphire necklace. The one I bought in Rome in 1989. She was facing the mirror, tilting her head, examining how the stone caught the light. Not admiring. Assessing. Pricing. "You're home early," she said casually when she saw my reflection in the mirror. No apology. No embarrassment. Just irritation. "What are you doing?" I asked. "I'm helping," she replied. "This place is cluttered. Daniel worries about you." She lifted the necklace slightly. "This is just sitting here. You don't even wear it." "It wasn't meant for me," I said. She sighed dramatically. "You can't keep living in a museum, Arthur. At some point these things should go to family." Family. The word tasted sour. "Take it off," I said quietly. She stared at me. For a moment, something flickered in her eyes. Calculation. Then she unclasped it and placed it, not gently, on the dresser. "You're overreacting," she said. "You've been forgetting things lately." There it was. The narrative. "You left the stove on last week," she added smoothly. "Daniel had to turn it off." I never used the back burner. Ever. I said nothing. Because in my profession, you never argue with someone who is building a false timeline. You let them continue. You gather data. She grabbed her purse. "We're just trying to protect you," she said before leaving. The door closed, and I stood in my bedroom, staring at the necklace. I placed it back in its case. Then I went to my study. I opened a leather notebook, and I wrote, March 18 to 3:10 p.m., entry number 35. Direct intrusion witnessed. Narrative of cognitive decline initiated. That was the moment I understood. This wasn't curiosity. It wasn't concern. It was preparation. They were building a case. A story where I was confused, unsafe, unfit. And when that story was strong enough, they would take control. That night, I invited them to dinner. I ordered Daniel's favorite pasta. Lila brought wine. They smiled too much. Halfway through dessert, I said calmly, "I would like my key back." Silence. Daniel looked uncomfortable. Lila leaned back, folding her arms. "Arthur," she said softly, as if speaking to a patient, "we've discussed this." "It's a safety issue," Daniel added. "It's a privacy issue," I replied. "She was here today." Daniel glanced at her. Lila did not flinch. "I told you," she said gently to him. "He gets confused about timing." Confused. Interesting word. "I saw you wearing Eleanor's necklace," I said. Daniel blinked. Lila placed her hand over his. I tried it on for 2 seconds to clean it. He started yelling. I had not raised my voice once. Gaslighting is most effective when delivered calmly. Dad, Daniel said, maybe we should talk about assisted living options soon. Just to be proactive. There it was. Not inheritance. Control. Step by step. Narrative first. Authority next. Assets last. I looked at my son. I waited for him to defend me. He didn't. He avoided eye contact. I nodded slowly. You're right, I said softly. Relief flooded Lila's face. We just want what's best, she smiled. I smiled back. Because at that moment, I stopped being a father and became an investigator. That same night, I made 3 phone calls. One to my attorney, one to a private security consultant, and one to a real estate firm that specialized in discrete institutional acquisitions. By Friday, my apartment would no longer legally belong to me. On paper, I would still live there, but ownership would transfer to a corporate holding company. A silent one, invisible, unemotional, unforgiving. If someone entered without authorization, it wouldn't be trespassing against an elderly man. It would be felony corporate intrusion. Different consequences. Heavier consequences. I didn't tell Daniel. I didn't tell Lila. I left the furniture. I left the books. I left the illusion. But I removed what mattered. Documents. Jewelry. Financial records. Memories. And I installed something else. A motion-triggered silent alarm. Connected not to me, but to the building's legal department and a security firm. Because when you set a trap, you don't want to be the one springing it. You let the system do that for you. The following Tuesday, I moved into a quiet furnished condo across town. No forwarding address. No explanation. When Daniel called asking why I hadn't answered my landline, I told him calmly. I needed rest. He sounded uneasy. Lila did not call. A week later, 2:07 a.m., my phone vibrated. I didn't rush. I didn't call anyone. I simply opened the security feed on my tablet and watched. The door opened. Lila stepped inside. But she wasn't alone. She had brought a man in a black jacket. He carried tools. Not cleaning supplies. Tools. And that was when I realized. They weren't checking on me. They were preparing to remove something. Something they thought still legally belonged to me. But didn't. I leaned back in my chair. And for the first time in months, I felt nothing. No anger. No sadness. Just clarity. Because in less than 5 minutes, they were about to discover they hadn't broken into an old man's apartment. They had broken into corporate property protected by a legal machine that never sleeps. And the police were already on there. Way 2:07 a.m. Most people panic when their phone vibrates at that hour. I did not. I sat up slowly in the quiet of my rented condo and opened the security app. The screen illuminated the dark room. Camera 14B, living room. The door swung inward. Lila stepped inside first. She wasn't whispering. She wasn't nervous. She walked in like she owned the place. Behind her came the man in the black jacket. Mid-30s. Efficient posture. No hesitation. He closed the door quietly and pulled a small flashlight from his pocket. Professional. Interesting. Lila walked toward my study. The study. Of all the rooms. I zoomed in slightly. She spoke in a low voice. The documents should still be in the top drawer. He keeps everything there. He doesn't trust banks. The man nodded. He has a safe? No. He's old school. Paper files. Probably bonds, property deed, account summaries. She said it with certainty. Confidence built on assumption. He moved toward the desk. He did not search randomly. He went straight to the right-hand drawer. The one that used to contain my financial records. He pulled it open. Empty. He frowned. Maybe bedroom, he muttered. They walked down the hallway. Camera 14B, bedroom. Lila opened the closet. The coats were still there. But the jewelry case was gone. The lockbox beneath the bed, gone. The small fireproof document chest in the corner, gone. She froze. Her posture changed. Not fear. Confusion. That's not possible, she whispered. The man looked irritated. You said he keeps everything here. He does. Did past tense. She began opening drawers quickly now. Clothes. Shoes. Empty velvet trays. Nothing of value. The man turned toward her. You sure he doesn't have another place? No, she snapped. He barely leaves. He stepped closer. You're paying me for tonight. If there's nothing here. There is, she insisted. He's just hiding it. That was when the living room light flickered on. Automatically. Triggered by motion sensors tied to the Building security override. They both froze. A mechanical voice echoed faintly from the hallway speaker system. Unauthorized access detected. Security response in progress. Lila's face drained of color. What did you do? The man hissed. I have a key. That doesn't matter if ownership changed. Ownership changed. The words hung in the air. He understood before she did. The front door handle rattled. Firm. Authoritative. Then came the knock. Not polite. Official. Chicago Police Department. Open the door. The man moved fast. He shoved his tools back into his bag. This is breaking and entering, he whispered sharply. You told me this was family property. It is, she whispered back, panic rising. It's my father-in-law's. Not anymore. The knock came again, louder. Open the door immediately. Lila's breathing quickened. For the first time since I had known her, she looked small. The man walked to the door and opened it slowly. 2 officers stood outside. Behind them, the building's night security supervisor. We received a corporate intrusion alert, one officer said. This unit is registered under Lakefront Holdings, LLC. Lila stepped forward. There's been a mistake. This is my father-in-law's apartment. I have a key. Ma'am, the officer replied calmly. The property transferred ownership 6 days ago. Entry requires written authorization from the holding company. Silence. Her mind was racing now. Calculating. Searching for a narrative. My father-in-law must have. He forgets things. He probably didn't understand what he signed. The officer's expression did not change. Are you Arthur Bennett? No. Are you an authorized tenant? No. The officer nodded to his partner. Both of you step into the hallway. The man complied instantly. Lila hesitated. For half a second, she looked back into the apartment, as if hoping something would magically reappear. The deed. The documents. Control. Nothing did. She stepped into the hallway. The officers began asking questions. Identification. Purpose of entry. Relationship to former owner. The word former hit her harder than the rest. I watched everything from my tablet. No satisfaction. No triumph. Just completion. Because this was never about revenge. It was about clarity. They thought I was confused. They thought I was declining. They thought they could slowly rewrite reality around me until I doubted myself. Instead, I rewrote the structure beneath their feet. Ownership is power, and power respects paperwork, not emotion. By morning, Daniel called me. His voice was shaking. Dad, there was an incident. I heard, I said calmly. You sold the apartment? Yes. Why didn't you tell us? Because you were already acting as if it were yours. Silence. Then, quietly, Lila was arrested. I know. It's a felony, Dad. Yes. He exhaled slowly. I didn't know she hired someone. That was the moment I believed him. He knew about the pressure. He knew about the manipulation. But he hadn't known about the escalation. I tried to drill your safe deposit box last week, he admitted softly. She said you were hiding assets. She said you were being secretive. You believed her. I thought, maybe you weren't thinking clearly. There it was again. The narrative. Only now it sounded ashamed. I have spent my entire life thinking clearly, Daniel, I said. You just stopped listening. He began to cry. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just the quiet sound of a man realizing he followed the wrong voice. I'm sorry, he said. I know, I replied. And I did. Weakness is not evil. But it is dangerous when paired with ambition. Charges were filed. Corporate property laws are unforgiving. Lakefront Holdings did not negotiate. They did not sympathize. They prosecuted. I did not intervene. Consequences are teachers that do not require emotion. Daniel moved out of the house he shared with Lila 2 months later. He began therapy. We speak occasionally now. Carefully. Slowly. Trust rebuilds one honest moment at a time. As for me, I never moved back to 14B. The lease ended quietly. The corporation sold the unit for profit. The funds remain in the blind trust. Invisible. Untouchable. Secure. I now live in a smaller place overlooking a park. No spare keys exist. No one enters uninvited. Sometimes Daniel visits. Alone. He knocks. He waits. I open the door. And that is enough. They thought I was a fragile old man guarding memories. They were wrong. I was a strategist guarding boundaries. And when someone mistakes patience for weakness, they forget something important. Age does not dull the mind. It sharpens the lessons.